Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is April 11th. Some NOS teams are so good, and believe it or not, pitching isn't everything. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? It is Friday. It is the end of another week in the baseball season here, getting kind of to the midway of the first month here. Of course, you had that extra week in March kind of and everything, but we're getting the season under the belts here. We're starting to see kind of some streaky players, some players who might be, due for a breakout, some guys who you're hoping, these last 2 weeks are the end of their playing, woes because of the struggles they've had, and some pitchers who, are really starting to lock in and surprise some people, when you make your second, your third start now. The season is, starting to come to fruition, and you're kind of starting to see who are going to be the top dogs and who are going to be those teams struggling. So we're getting to that point in April here, and I've got some baseball to talk about with you guys here today. So with that being said, let's dive on into the series recap. Leading us off, we have the Angels and the Rays. The Angels are in Steinbrenner, and they are scoring some runs. The Angels get 3 runs in the 8th that lead them to a comeback win to win the first game 4-3. Jose Caballero gets a grand slam in the first inning of this game. Kyron Paris, though, is looking locked in. He gets a 2-homer night. The Rays, though, hold on with that grand slam. 5-4 the final there. And for the road match, holy halo, Taylor Ward a 2-homer day. Joe Adell gets 2 home runs in the same inning. And oh yeah, by the way, in case you forgot, Mike Trout, he's still good. 2 home runs for him in the game. 3 players, 6 home runs. The Angels win it 11-1 and take this series. Blue Jays in Fenway to take on the Red Sox, and it's all things Jays. A 6-2 win in the first game thanks to Springer, who was 4-for-4 with 3 RBIs. Then the second game, it's Springer who hits a home run, leading to a 6-1 Jays win. In that third game, it goes to the 11th inning. They both scored 1 run in the first and nothing else until the 11th. A sac fly from Blow gets the Jays the lead. They hold on 2-1 there. Looking for the 4-game sweep, but cannot find it. In the 10th inning, we'd go to this one. In a 3-3 tie, it's Trevor Story with the walk-off ground out. But the Red Sox salvage the series to take 1 game of the set. The Blue Jays, though, 3 in a row, nearly the 4-game sweep, had a great series. Yankees and Tigers. How about Detroit? Andy Ibanez, a 3-run home run, helps the Tigers to a 6-2 win. Then in that second game, the Tigers hit some home runs. Torkelson, McKinstry, Dingler, all hitting solo home runs in the 4th inning. Kerry Carpenter, he hits his solo home run a little bit later on. 5-0 the Tigers. The Yankees, though, they'd clutch up in the last game. The Tigers almost get a comeback victory, scoring 3 in the 9th, but was missing 1 run. Ben Rice, a 2-run home run. Aaron Judge, a 2-run single. Yankees 4-3 avoid the sweep. White Sox and Guardians. Whenever you're playing the White Sox, the aim is simple: win your games. The Guardians win it on a walk-off walk to Nolan Jones. It was the only run in the game. In the 9th, the walk-off walk. Guardians 1-0. Then Guardians win it as Mike Tauchman gets hurt running, as he would have scored the game-tying run in the 9th. Instead, he gets hurt and is tagged out at the plate. Guardians win it 3-2. Kind of luckily, but you never know. And that last game, it was all Guardians. Manzardo and Kwan hit some home runs. Guardians 6-1. They sweep the White Sox. Twins and Royals. The Royals coming in hot right now. 4-2 in the first game. Kyle Isbell hits his first home run on the year, followed by a 2-1 Royals win. The Twins then get game 3 of this 4-game set, with Matt Wallner and Ty France hitting some home runs for the Twins to a 4-0 victory. But then the Royals come back in the final game. They rally for 2 runs in the 7th to tie and take the lead in this one. 3-2 Royals. They take 3 of 4 from Minnesota. Astros at Mariners now. The Mariners Polanco gets a 2 RBI single to get them the lead in the 8th inning. That leads to a 4-3 Mariners win. The Astros, though, come back in Game 2. This one would go to the 12th inning of extras, where Victor Caratini would get an RBI single. The Astros would hold on to win a 2-1 game there. And in this final game, holy, Mariners come back from down 5 to win a crazy game on a walk-off walk to Randy Arozarena. 7-6 Mariners, the final in this one. An absolute crazy one. The Mariners take 2 of 3 against the Astros. Padres and A's now. Padres head to Sutter Health. 5-4 in that first game. Tyler Soderstrom, though, a 2 home run night. How about that for him? Cronenworth and Tatis go yard for the Padres as they take that game. The A's score 6 runs in the first as they would cruise to the Game 2 win, beating the Padres 10-4. But the Padres come back in the last game and take a simple 2-1 victory to take 2 of 3 against the A's. Dodgers and Nationals. Hello. The top team in the Dodgers meet the Nationals. And what do? You get James Wood getting a 2-run home run. That would get the Nats a 3-run lead in the 7th. And the Nationals from there hold on to take the opener of the set. 6-4 your final there. James Wood follows up that home run in the first game with 2 more in the second one. He has 3 home runs in the series, 5 RBIs in this game. And would you know, the Nationals 8-2 and are 1 game away from sweeping the Dodgers. As nice as that would be a little realistic. The Dodgers are able to salvage the last game. Teoscar and Andy Pages hitting some home runs. Pages tied the game in the 7th with his home run, and then Teoscar came through with an RBI to give the Dodgers the win. 6-5 Dodgers. But the Nationals taking care of the Dodgers. How about that? 2 out of the 3, excuse me. Phillies and Braves, always a fun series, a good matchup between these two teams. Sean Murphy gets his first at-bat. He's healthy and ready to go, and it's a home run. The Braves scored 4 unanswered in this one. They come back and win it 7-5, your final there. They need to start racking up some wins. They wouldn't be able to get one in the second game, though, as Bryce Harper hits a home run to give the Phillies the lead. But do not fret, Austin Riley, his home run would tie the game up for the Braves. But in the 9th, it's Trey Turner and his home run. That would end up being the winning run in this one. Phillies hold on 4-3 the final there. And in the rubber match, we had a 3-hour rain delay. It cost for some funny moments on the Braves broadcast, and it ends in the 11th inning, way past the midnight, I guess you would say there. And Ozuna hits a walk-off 2-run home run to win a crazy long game. Braves 4-2. They take 2 of 3 against the Phillies, and that kind of maybe sets the tone going forward. Marlins and Mets. The Mets take a 2-0 victory in the opener. They come back with 10-5 in the second game. They scored 7 runs in a 2-inning span, but they cannot complete the sweep as Matt Mervis has himself a game, 3 RBIs, including a 2-run home run in that final game. The Marlins take a 5-0 win, but the Mets take 2 of 3 against the Fish. Rangers and Cubs. The Cubs score 4 runs in the 6th inning. That leads to a 7-0 Cubs victory to open up the set. They then score 3 in the 2nd, 3 in the 5th, and 4 in the 8th in the second game. 10-6 Cubs the final there. And in that final game, Corey Seager, he gets 2 home runs in this game. Jonah Heim, he also hits a home run, 1 of 4 runs in the 5th inning. The Rangers avoid the sweep. They take a 6-2 victory. Cardinals and Pirates. The Pirates, they're top of the class right now. They seem pretty locked in. An 8-4 Pirates win. Joey Bart gets his first home run of the year, and so does Mason Wynn for the Cardinals. Both of them hitting their first home runs of the year. With Game 2, you got Paul Skeens, and he still can't handle the Cardinals. He gives up 5 earned runs, and in his career, 4 losses, 3 of which have come to the Cardinals, including that game. 5-3 Cardinals. But the Pirates take the rubber match 0-0 after 9 innings. They both score 1 in the 12th, but in the 13th, Joey Bart gets the walk-off RBI single. The Pirates walk off and get 2 of 3 against the Cardinals. Brewers and Rockies. How about 3 solo shots in a 4-batter span in the 7th inning? Bryce Terang goes yard, And then after a batter, it's Yelich and Contreras who go back to back. The Brewers in control in this one. And how about Zach Veen in his Major League debut gets his first MLB hit. 7-1 Brewers, your final there. In Game 2, it was definitely all Milwaukee. Contreras, Yelich, both hitting home runs again in this game, and they're joined by that young kid, Jackson Chourio. They all three of them hit home runs. The Brewers score 5 in the third, 5 in the fifth, and in case that wasn't enough, they score 7 in the ninth, leading to a 17-2 victory for the Brewers. Yikes. But the Rockies are able to avoid the sweep. They come back. Brenton Doyle, he gets 5 RBIs in this one, including his second home run of the series. The Rockies take a 7-2 victory to avoid the sweep. Reds and Giants. The Reds and Blake Dunn, a 2 RBI double in the 8th. Those are the only 2 runs in the game. 2-0 the final there. Then in the second game, Jose Trevino gets an RBI groundout in the 3rd, and that's the only run in that game. Reds 1-0. Giants cannot have any offense until that last game. The Giants would come back from down 5. Wilmer Flores, his home run in the 8th inning would tie it, his 5th of the year. That sends us to extras, and in the 10th inning, Mike Yastrzemski hits a 2-run walk-off home run for him. 8-6 Giants, your final there. They avoid the sweep to the Reds. And that takes us to our last series, the Oilers at the D-backs. 5-1 Baltimore in the opener. They seemed like they had a good handle on this series, but you would be wrong. The D-backs come back 4-3 in the second game. Corbin Carroll, he hits a home run in this one. And then 9-0 in the last game. Corbin Carroll again with the home run. Pavin Smith hits a home run. Geraldo Perdomo gets a home run. And how about Josh Naylor, his first home run as a D-back, his first on the year as well. 9-0 D-backs. They take 2 of 3 in the series. And that, my friends, is your series recap. So with that, now we have our game of the week, and I'm taking you guys to Seattle for the comeback and the final game of this series, Astros and Mariners. We start in the top of the second with Jake Myers getting an RBI single to score the first run in this game. Cam Smith would then follow with a single of his own to make it 2-0, and then Jose Altuve gets an RBI single. So 3 RBI singles in the second puts the Astros up 3-0. Top of the third with the bases loaded, the Astros can only get 1 run on a walk to Brandon Rogers to make it 4-0. And then to the top of the 8th, Yordan Alvarez, a sac fly, is 5-0 Houston with only 2 innings to go. With the bases loaded in the bottom of the 8th, Randy Arozarena steps up to the plate and hits a grand slam from down 5-0 to down 1 run with a snap of the fingers. A top of the 9th wild pitch gives the Astros an insurance run, 6-4, heading to the bottom of the 9th when it's my guy, Julio, getting an RBI double. Scratch that, a 2 RBI double. That ties the game up 6-6. The Mariners get the bases loaded. Randy Arozarena steps up to the plate already with a grand slam in the last inning. He would have a tough AB. It would end on a walk. Randy and Julio come through in the last 2 innings of this one. They pick up the win. Randy Arozarena, the walk-off walk. Mariners from down 5 to a 7-6 victory. How about that for your game of the week? You love to see it. That's some grade A baseball. That's some stuff that, for Seattle fans, you're really happy about. That's the kind of stuff that you'd go to the games for, that you're excited about. But it's that kind of stuff that isn't, it doesn't happen so often. And we'll get into that and talk about that a little bit because I want to touch upon that. But first, I want to talk about the NL West. And it has been an extremely dominant division. Right now, there are 3 teams with a winning percentage above 700. Those 3 teams, the San Diego Padres, the San Francisco Giants, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, all 3 of which are the top 3 teams in the MLB right now. That is very impressive. And obviously, Arizona is still a good team. They're a bit of the ways down. They're at 7-6, 1 game above 500. They're 12th in the league. But the top 3, all to be teams from the NL. Padres, Giants, and Dodgers. You combine the losses, that is 10 losses combined between the three of them. They have a total of 29 wins together. Padres 10, Giants 9, and Dodgers 10. So, I mean, it's a real neck and neck battle. And I guess the question that I kind of have right now is why? Why are they so good? You know, the Giants, I haven't seen this kind of hot start since like 2021. So, I mean, that's exciting if you're a Giants fan. Obviously, the Dodgers, we knew were going to be good. But, like, what exactly is it that is pushing these three teams? And, I mean, I took a look and I thought maybe it's schedule-based. And I think it plays a role. Obviously, the Dodgers, they had the Tokyo series against the Cubs. They started with the Tigers, which good team, but not anything crazy. The Braves, who are off to a very cold start. And then the Phillies and Nationals, who, by the way, they lost those last two series. The Dodgers, this last week, have been really bad. And I say really bad, but like, you know, they have 2 wins and 4 losses. They're 2-4 this week, which, you know, for Dodgers standards, that's waving the red flag. They got the Cubs and Rockies now on a homestand, so they should be looking to start coming back, getting some wins back under their belt here. But I mean, you know, Nationals seem like a beatable team, but you know, despite that, and despite losing that series and back-to-back series to teams in the NL East, they're still top of the league. You go to the Padres, they started out with a series at home against the Braves. And 4-game sweep, hey, that sets you off in the right tone. Cleveland comes to town, they sweep them, so they're sitting pretty. Of course, we remember the hot streaks the Dodgers and Padres were on. They lose the series to the Cubs, who, again, the Dodgers played as well. And then they just took a series against the A's. So, again, not the most crazy teams. And they have kind of the opposite. I say kind of the opposite. The Dodgers and Padres are both home. The Dodgers play the Cubs this weekend, and the Padres play the Rockies this weekend. And then the following week, the Padres play the Cubs while the Dodgers play the Rockies. So they're just kind of swapping teams that they're playing right now. So, I mean, you kind of want to be equal with each other. And then the Giants have kind of done their own thing on their own path. They took the homestand against the Reds. They then come back and sweep the Astros and then sweep the Mariners. They were on a nice little winning streak here before those 2 losses against Cincinnati, where their offense kind of just disappeared for 2 games. 2 games, no runs, 1-0, 2-0 losses that easily could have been wins had just a little bit of offense. And they're able to pull out the win against the Reds here. But, you know, they're playoff teams. It's not like the Dodgers and Padres and Giants here. It's not like they're getting the Rockies and the Marlins and all these other teams who, you know, you'd expect to be bottom class. The Astros, you think, good team. The Mariners, you think, good team. You know, the Cubs are playing very well right now. And despite like the fact that we're saying like, oh, the Cubs play the Dodgers and lost, and the Cubs have done, played a series against the Padres, and they both have series against them in the next week. By this time next week, they'll have played the Cubs again, both those teams. The Cubs are sitting 9-6. You know, and those 6 losses for the Cubs probably will come against the Dodgers and the Padres and, you know, whatever else. But it really is to show how good that these teams have been. You know, run differentials +14, +18, +15. They're playing above their expected win-loss rate. Like, everything is kind of going right early on for these 3 teams here. That's a key. You know, obviously, if you want to, you know, do well, you got to win games. And so far, these 3 teams have done a fantastic job at that. I'm excited to see what comes next for them because obviously, you know, the season will eventually, start to drag on. And it's like, who will come out on top? Obviously, you still expect the Dodgers to be there. But if the Padres can still kind of hold their own against them, I mean, we're talking about a really fun and exciting team. And right now, from these 3 teams, the first time that either of them play each other will be the Giants and Padres, and that's the end of the month. The Giants will be on the road in San Diego to take on the Padres April 29th, the first time that any of these teams will face off against each other. And like I mentioned, like it's just so staggered. I feel like it seems like these NOS teams are really not playing each other a whole lot. I mean, the Dodgers have, they have a series against Arizona. They have 2 series against Arizona next month, both 4-game sets, I think, or 3-game and a 4-game set here. And then, you got to go all the way to June 9th where the Dodgers take on the Padres, then the Giants, then the Padres again for 4 games. So that right there, in that 2 weeks, you got 10 games against these teams for the Dodgers. That's as most of content and as games that they'll have in the short period of time. So you still have basically a month and a half before anything comes to fruition here. But if we jump a month and a half and these three teams are still top of the league, I mean, that's just exciting baseball. Then the Dodgers get to go through a gauntlet against their rivals here. The Giants and Padres are as rivals as the Dodgers have. And the fact that right now Padres are 10-3, Dodgers 10-4, Giants are 9-3. The Dodgers are half a game back against the Padres and are tied technically with the Giants with those extra games that they've played against the Cubs. Technically, 2 extra games for the Dodgers. I'm very excited to see how these three teams will continue to progress not only in April, but as we get through May. And like I said, the Dodgers have a week where they play these teams. So that would be very exciting if we get to that week and it's still as close as things are in the NL West. And who knows? Like I said, Arizona, only 1 game above 500. They're 12th best in the league. But they are easily a better team as well than I think their numbers would suggest right now. And by that time, who knows how good Arizona might be. So, I mean, the NL West is very exciting. And I would love to see all 4 of these teams make the postseason, be the 3 wildcard teams. I think it would be very exciting. So, that's where we stand on the NL West. Moving on now, I want to talk about the Reds and the Mariners, specifically those 2 teams, because I think that they are very similar. I think that the Mariners are the Reds of the AL and the Reds are the Mariners of the NL. And the reason I say that is because I think their pitching is phenomenal. Both of them. I think Logan Gilbert, Castillo, Bryce Miller, Wu, obviously when you get George Kirby healthy, that will make a whole difference for the Mariners. And on the Reds side, Hunter Green is pitching out of his likelihood. He's doing fantastic. Nick Lodolo is off to a really great start to the season. Brady Singer's had a couple nice starts. Nick Martinez has been all right. And then, you have out of the fifth guy who, has been kind of a toss around right now with dealing with some injuries there. The Reds pitching is so far phenomenal. You want to take a look at numbers here. They're 4th best starting pitcher-wise in ERA. They're 1st in walks per 9. They're 3rd in hits per 9. 4th in home runs per 9. 1st in whip. Like, the starting pitching has been phenomenal. Obviously, the bullpen, you have a little bit more concerns there. But the starting pitching has been class. Mariners, on the other hand, we know how good their pitching's been despite some of the struggles early on. They're 20th in ERA, 18th in whip, 14th in home runs per 9. So not exactly where you'd want that pitching to be. But at the end of the day, you look at the standings, the Mariners are last. They're 5-8. You look at the Reds, they're 4th, technically 5th, 5-8. They're all 5-8, technically last in their leagues because the Reds are 5-8, tied with the Pirates for last. Mariners are 5-8, tied with the Athletics for last. So when you think about that, you got to scratch your head a little bit and be like, okay, what's going on here? And what's going on is your offense. Your offense is so dog. It's so bad. The Reds offense, they're 26th in average, 30th in on-base percentage. They don't have guys on base. Hey, that's why you're not scoring runs. They're 27th in OPS, 16th in home runs, 23rd in stolen bases, and 17th in runs. It's just not great. And Seattle's isn't much better. Yeah, they have speed. They're 3rd in stolen bases. Speed's not going to win you games. They're 27th in average, 21st in on-base percentage, 23rd in OPS. They're 22nd in runs. They can't score runs. You're getting so many games where you're losing 1-0, 2-0, 3-1. Like, it's just not enough. And we talked about Seattle in this struggle because when you look at Seattle's team, Julio and Randy and Cal Raleigh, like, those are guys who can do it. Let's be honest. These guys have the offensive woes. The game of the week, Randy Ozarena hits a grand slam. Julio, 2 RBI double, and they win a game against the Astros where they were down 5-0. That's an impressive win. That should be a standard for the Mariners. That's what their offense should be like every day. The problem is it's not, and it's not consistent enough to the point where it can be. The guys like Julio and the Randys, the lineup, it's not enough. You need to see guys like Luke Raley step up, or J.P. Crawford, or, I don't know, go and get something. Go and get an additional piece for the offseason. Donovan Solano was your big cash grab, and he's played 5 games. It really hasn't been what you need from Seattle's viewpoint here. And I mean, with the Reds, I mean, there's a little bit more of a it's okay. It's not the end of the world for Cincinnati here, because so many of their players are still younger. And I mean, not to say that Seattle players aren't, but it's the difference. Blake Dunn hasn't had a full service time yet. Spencer Steer has only 2 years of service time. Ellie De La Cruz, believe it or not, only has 1 year of service time so far. So, like, TJ Friedel, like, outside of Candelario and, like, Jose Trevino, who are guys that they've added on to help out, their service time guys are pretty young here. So, like, you're still trying to figure it out from Cincinnati's perspective. It's not like, oh, you should have other help and, like, other guys in the lineup. But Seattle, it's a completely different story. Outside of Miles Mastrobuoni, who only has 1 year of service time, Rowdy's got 6, has been around. Dylan Moore's got 6, has been around. Polanco's got an 8. Julio's already in his 3rd year. Randy's in his 4th. So, I mean, it's guys here where you know what you should have. And you're not winning games, and it's because of the offense. I think that's a really, like, key problem here for both of these teams. And I don't know what you go do. I know JD Martinez is still a free agent, and he is a bat, and he's a DH who will help you win ball games. He's going to be a guy. And I know it's still early, and I know I shouldn't be complaining about this that much, but they are bottom of the league right now. Outside the White Sox and the Rockies, the Braves, Twins, then you get to Seattle, then you get to Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and the Athletics and Baltimore, surprisingly 5-8, struggling early on here too. But I mean, I feel like Baltimore has the offensive talent to come back around. I think their pitching is a little bit lackluster, but besides the point, when you look at the bottom here, the Braves have some offense that they can come back from a 3-9 start. The Twins, I think there's some offense there and some pitching there that can help them bounce back from 4-9. For Seattle and Cincinnati, I think they have pitching for days. I think, when Seattle's guys and their starters actually, like, lock in and start pitching to their best, and when you get George Kirby healthy again, Seattle's going to be holding up some runs here. The Reds, same thing. Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo locked in, but if you can't score runs, you're going to be losing these little one-run games, not scoring any runs here. We talked about the Reds and their 38-inning streak without scoring a run. That can't happen if you're in the playoffs, So if either of these teams want a chance at a postseason, they got to figure out their offense kind of tonight. Like, it needs to be a quick turnaround now, because the more you struggle and the more you lose these games like this, you get to a point where you'll be, coming into June and you'll be 3rd and 4th in your division still, and it won't be enough to battle back in the later months of the year here, because if you don't have offense now, it's not like it's going to change rapidly. So you really got to find ways to do that. I think Seattle and Cincinnati, again, both good teams, both could be playoff teams, but right now it's the pitching that's really, the offense and those hitting numbers that are really letting them down. So I'd like to see some improvements kind of quickly from those teams here, because otherwise you're talking about a really looking ugly year again. So moving on now, I want to mention that the Red Sox have made a minor league deal with Yasmani Grandal, who is back, and maybe could be back with the Red Sox sooner than you think. I think it will be kind of one of those things where you'll give him a couple reps quickly in AAA, and then you're going to bring him up. We haven't mentioned it just yet because of injury updates. We're not there yet, but Connor Wong is on the IL, so right now the Red Sox had to call up Blake Sable as a backup catcher essentially right now, and I mean they've been using Carlos Nevarez, who they got in a trade with the Yankees in the offseason. So it is a catching problem there for Boston, I think, and it kind of has been since Christian Vasquez left a few years ago. So I'm interested to see kind of what they do there. Like, Sable has had a little bit of success with the Giants, but then again have struggled. And Nevarez, you're given a couple ABs. How will that go? But I think Boston, obviously losing 3 or 4 to the Jays doesn't help their position. They're 7-7, 3rd in the AL East and kind of middle of the pack there. But you bring in Grandal, who obviously isn't the same guy he once was. He had a somewhat decent year with Pittsburgh last year, I think. A 704 OPS. It's the highest OPS he's had since, 2021 White Sox, when he was still technically good. He had a 939 OPS that year. and 23 home runs. But since then, hasn't been able to hit over 10 home runs. Finish off the contract with the White Sox, signed a one-year deal with Pittsburgh. Was, a nice catcher for Skeens in AAA. They both got called up together again. But obviously Grandal's been around, the two-time All-Star. He's finished, top 25 in MVP voting twice. He's, 13-year career, Padres, Dodgers, Milwaukee for that year in 2019. He was very good that year. So he's an all right catcher. I think he has that leadership presence and could be, better than I think Sable and Narvaez is right now. But it's up to the Red Sox what they want to do with him, but they signed that. And speaking of Sox, we also want to mention here that the White Sox have kind of gotten straight to it where they want it to be in this year. They were able to win the first game of the season, and then it's been downhill since. The White Sox are currently in the midst of an 8-game losing streak already. They've played 12 games. They have won 1, lost 2, won 1, and then they have been on an 8-game losing streak. It's what the White Sox do. And they're the first team to reach 10 losses on the season. Though it is close, the Twins, Braves, and Rockies all currently at 9. So they'll have some company soon. But at the way they've been losing recently here, you have to imagine that we're looking at like a potential 15-game losing streak. As long as you can win like one game a week. You'll be fine if you can win one game a week. The White Sox last year had 2 20-game losing streaks. They have a series against Boston, who just lost 3 or 4 to the Jays, so they're obviously looking to bounce back and will have some fight against them. And then a series against the A's, and then you go back to Boston and Minnesota, and then you get the A's again. I don't know. There's no team that I think the White Sox can just easily beat. It's just, I don't know. I'm praying for the White Sox this year. Good luck, White Sox fans, because it just seems like it's already going to get ugly really quickly, and that's nowhere. No one wants that. If you're preying on the White Sox downfall, I don't think anyone is. I think it's one of those things where you see it from like a mile away, and you're just like a sad puppy. It's just I don't know. It's just tough. I feel bad for the White Sox fans out there. All right, moving on here. Let's talk injuries, injury updates. We've got, unfortunately, a long list. Of course, Victor Robles, we mentioned in the last episode how he left the game He did make a spectacular catch. He is now in place on the IL, shoulder dislocation, which, by the way, he was holding it. That's kind of what I was thinking it was going to be, a dislocation or some sort of, strain like that. So he's on the IL. Padres are losing a big piece. Jackson Merrill lands on a 10-day IL, a strained hamstring for him. So not great there. Spencer Arrighetti from the Astros, he's on the IL, broken right thumb. So not great there. Justin Steele, he had a great start over the week here, and then he lands on the 15-day IL with left elbow tendonitis. So not great there. Wyatt Langford and the Rangers, he lands on the IL, right oblique strain. We mentioned Connor Wong and the Red Sox catching situation. He's on the 10-day IL, a fractured left pinky. Paulo Lopez on the Twins, a 15-day IL stint for him. He's got a strained hamstring. And then, we talked about the White Sox and their 8-game losing streak. Let's talk about the White Sox and their injuries. Mike Tauchman, Corey Lee, and Andrew Benintendi all found themselves on the IL this week. Tauchman, we talked about how he was going to score the game-tying run and then got injured rounding third base and ended up getting out to end the game. Just what a way to end the game, realistically. So sad. He has a strained hamstring. Corey Lee on a pickoff attempt, he ended up spraining his ankle. He's on the IL, and the Andrew Benintendi as well on a strained groin. So not great stuff there from the White Sox. There are a couple more notable injuries, but I feel like these ones were the most ones that are worth getting talked about here quickly. So unfortunate stuff there for those guys, and hopefully some speedy recoveries from the IL. We have our outstanding performances. Once again, always on Fridays, it's always a bigger list. It's always because everyone pitches well over the week. Why is that? Everyone seems to pitch well on the week. Jose Soriano from the Angels, 7 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, an earned run, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Jose Barrios, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Kevin Gausman, 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 10 strikeouts. He was locked in against the Red Sox. Walker Buehler, 6 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 7 Ks. His best start with the Red Sox so far. Casey Mize continues to look good. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 6 Ks. Tarek Skubal with a good start, I think his first on the year. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. Max Fried, dominant against the Tigers there. 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 11 strikeouts. Jack Flaherty, on the other hand, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 9 Ks. Pretty good stuff there from Flaherty. Cole Reagans with an absolute dominant start for the Royals. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, an earned run, no walks, and 11 strikeouts for him. Joe Ryan has been super solid for the Twins so far this year early on. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts. Framber Valdez on the Astros, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 8 Ks. These next two guys were still pitching really well, of course. Jesus Luzardo and Spencer Schwellenbach, they were the two pitchers in that last game with the Braves and Phillies before that rain delay. Had it not been for that delay, both of them might have seen more numbers, more innings pitched and everything, but they ended up getting cut short because of the rain. Luzardo, 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 6 Ks. And then Spencer Schwellenbach, who's been dominant this year so far, 6 innings pitched, 7 hits, only 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 5 Ks. How about that from the kid? Max Meyer and the Marlins, 6 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks against the Mets too. So pretty impressive stuff there. Justin Steele, we mentioned on the IL now, but his last start, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 8 Ks. He was great. Tyler Mahle, a guy who I haven't seen his name in a long time, of course, dealing with injuries in recent years. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 4 Ks. Pretty sure he's with Texas now. How about that for Tyler Mahle? Mitch Keller, how about that? Good stuff there. I keep saying how about that. 7 1/3 innings pitched for Keller, 4 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. Ryan Feltner from the Rockies, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 7 Ks. And then how about Logan Webb and Hunter Green, that pitching duel in one of the games, Giants and Reds, of course, we know the 2-0, 1-0 games. Logan Webb, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 10 strikeouts. And Hunter Green, 1 out away from a complete game shutout. He was 8 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 7 Ks. I don't know why they didn't let him finish that. But when you go to a game and you see Logan Webb and Hunter Green, that's the kind of game that you kind of want. You kind of want a nice pitcher's duel every now and then. You know, when you go to a game, I feel like you want to go and you want to see some offense, obviously. Like, I love going to see, hopefully my team hitting some home runs, whatever. But if I was going to a game and I'm seeing Logan Webb and Hunter Green, I'm hoping for like a 2-0, 3-1 game. And I'm hoping like Webb and Green go like 7+ innings and like together 18+ Ks. Like, that's just ideal stuff there. So those are your outstanding performances. And that will take us to the stat leaderboard here. Our first update with that. Of course, early on in the season is always exciting because it always seems like there's new players jumping in and out of the list every week. Average now is led by George Springer, who's been great early on with the Blue Jays. 429 average there. For hits, it is still Kyle Tucker, but he has a new friend from the Athletics, Jacob Wilson. How about that? The shortstop kid. I keep saying how about that. I gotta update that. 19 hits. They're both tied with the league so far. For home runs, it was Judge and Suarez. It is now Judge, Schwarber, and Tyler Soderstrom from the A's, all with 6 home runs on the year so far. Judge still leading in RBIs with 20. Tucker in runs now with 16 runs scored. Marcell Ozuna still leads in walks with 15. O'Neal Cruz still with stolen bases at 7. And of course, Judge and the OPS 1.238 for your hittings. For pitching, it is shaped up a little bit nicer. For wins, Anthony Banda from the Dodgers and Justin Steele tied with 3 apiece. For ERA, how about Spencer Schwellenbach from the Braves? He's been dominant. He's been one of the brightest spots of the Braves season so far. 0.45 ERA so far. For strikeouts, we had a 3-way tie last week with Gilbert, Gore, and Wheeler. Now we have a 4-way tie with Gilbert, Gore, and Wheeler. And then Jesus Luzardo joins the party. All four of them, 25 strikeouts on the year so far. And then for saves, we had a 5-way tie. It's cleaned up very nicely because it is just the Padres' very own Robert Suarez, who has 6 saves on the young year. 6 saves out of the Padres' 10 wins. Pretty good stuff there from Robert Suarez. With that being said, that moves us on to our upcoming series for the weekend games coming up here. Starting things off, those Giants have a very tough series against the New York Yankees in the Bronx. If they want to stay close to the Dodgers and Padres, they're going to have to take a series here against the Yankees. The Braves are heading to Steinbrenner to take on the Rays, and after seeing the Angels and the way they hit, this could be a real opportunity for the Braves to come back. Of course, their crazy walk-off win in yesterday's game as well, so big ups there for the Braves. The Bird Battle, once again, Blue Jays at Oilers. A sock-off, Red Sox at White Sox. Good chance for the Red Sox to kind of bounce back. Tigers at Twins, Royals at Guardians, so the AL Central matchups kind of mix up there. Angels at Astros, Rangers at Mariners, and the Mets are heading to Sutter Health to take on the A's. Nationals at Marlins, Phillies at Cardinals, Pirates at Reds, Brewers at D-backs. So if you're the Reds there, you kind of want to sweep the Pirates, and if you're D-backs, you want to handle the Brewers, of course. And then we have the Cubs and Dodgers not playing in Tokyo this time. They're playing in LA, and that rounds it off with the Rockies heading to Petco to take on the Padres. And that will bring us to our playoff predictor here. The last thing of the episode here. A little bit easier. Of course, there's still a couple tiebreakers that I just kind of went off of who's been playing hot or whatever. So for the AL, the Royals are the 6th-seeded team. They're taking on the Yankees, who are the 3-seeded team. And then Blue Jays at Angels, the 5-seed versus the 4-seed. Yankees beat the Royals. Blue Jays beat the Angels. So the ALDS, you have the Yankees at the Tigers and Blue Jays at the Rangers. We've seen the Blue Jays at the Rangers before. Blue Jays would take on the Rangers and win, and the Tigers handle their own against the Yankees. So you have an ALCS of Blue Jays at Tigers potential rivalry. I always see these teams as rivals because of how close they are. But it is the Tigers who beat the Blue Jays on their top-tier pitching and their prospects hitting right now. I mean, they're young kids. Spencer Torkelson coming through right now. Dylan Dingler's had a couple of ABs that have been nice. They're locked in right now, Detroit. On the NL side, Phillies are your 6th-seeded team. They take on the Cubs in the 3-seed. And then the Dodgers at the 5-seed, Giants at the 4-seed. Cubs beat the Phillies. Dodgers take care of the Giants. So we have an NLDS matchup of Cubs at Mets, Dodgers at Padres. The Dodgers beat the Padres, and the Cubs take care of the Mets. So we have Dodgers and Cubs. We've seen them play in Tokyo. They play a series this weekend, but the Cubs, man, they're so locked in right now, it feels like. Cubs get their revenge. They beat the Dodgers. So our World Series matchup is Tigers at Cubs. That's a fun one, and it's the Chicago Cubs led with Kyle Tucker, who are your 2025 World Series champions. The Cubs, World Series champions. And that about does it for our episode here today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, so much. I appreciate you all. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the start to the season. I've been having some fun, of course, going out to a couple of games so far, and I got a couple more due up in the next couple of weeks. So very excited stuff there. Thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you on Monday.